and gentlemen, it's Justin Perry MMA, and I'm back to another video. And the topic of this one is my opinion and how I feel like there's a crisis in the welterweight division in the UFC right now. And yeah, so for this video, I'm gonna be going through all the top prospects, including the champion. I'm gonna be going over, their rankings in the fans, if they're fan favorites or not, just all their recent fighter history and how I feel like it's caused major problems in the rankings and everything like that, and where the division should go, which direction it should go in. And I'm gonna be giving my ideas and my suggestions on how to fix it. And so for starters, I'm going to be talking about Kamaru Usman. Obviously he's champion. He's super dominant. In my opinion, he's better than Khabib. In my opinion, he's the second greatest welterweight of all time, approaching GSP's #1 welterweight spot after he has a few more title defenses, of course, and if he keeps on putting on these stellar performances. Kamaru Usman is a very interesting fighter because we've seen in the past year and a half, he went from being hated by the majority of the fan base to almost being one of the most loved champions in the entire promotion. And I think this is large in part to just the fact that he's stolen Jorge Masvidal's fan base for the most part. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but I feel like he's sort of taken Masvidal's fan base from under his feet. He's just been so dominant that after a period of time, everybody has to respect you, and the fan base has always respected him because everyone knows what his credentials are. He's literally beaten everybody, which is part of the problem. And I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. But yeah, his credentials speak for itself. Everybody's always respected him. So now that he's sort of added in. And he's improved with his one-liners. We see him cutting a lot of promos recently. We see him doing a lot more interviews. We see him going live on Instagram a lot more. We see him more active on Twitter. He's engaging with his fans more. And that's something that I say all the time. If you guys follow me on Twitter and everything like that, I always say that fighters need to engage with the fans. And that's the biggest way to blow up your your notoriety. Look at Sean O'Malley, for example, right? He fights on the prelims, but he's one of the most well-named fighters in the promotion. Why? Because he goes live on Twitch. He's on Twitter. He makes these little videos on Instagram. He goes on Instagram Live. You know what I'm saying? So Kamaru Usman sort of taking the well, obviously people would say that he's sort of copying Conor McGregor. But I feel like, not everyone's naturally that social of a person. So I don't feel like there's anything wrong with Kamaru, stepping out of his shell and doing that. And yeah, so that's sort of the gist of Kamaru Usman. And back to the problem with him, he's beating literally everybody. He's beaten Masvidal twice. He's beaten Colby. He's beaten Masvidal by domination, unanimous decision. He's knocked out Masvidal cold. He stopped Colby. He's already beaten Leon. He stopped Gilbert Burns. Kamaru has beaten everybody, and that's the problem with him. But I'm going to get to the solution at the end of the video. Now, talking about Jorge Masvidal, the issue with Jorge Masvidal, if you guys have watched my past videos, I've never really been a big fan of him. I always felt like he was just an overrated journeyman that sort of got clout because the UFC was looking to build a replacement Conor McGregor after Conor sort of went AWOL against the promotion. And he looked the piece for the whole street Jesus. He has a little bit of a pretty boy thing going on with his hair and everything. So I feel like they really tried to market him heavy, especially after the whole 3-piece and soda thing, yada yada yada. But after his 2 losses to Usman in dominating fashion, obviously unanimous decision, and then with him getting knocked out cold, and with the fact that Colby Covington was really harping on him, bringing it to everybody's attention that he was ducking him. You know what I'm saying? And so was Leon Edwards to a lesser degree, but it was really Colby giving it like the proof in their seat, saying, hey, I've been trying to fight this guy and he's been ducking me. Dana White has come out and said that, yeah, we offered Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington 7 figures for the Ultimate Fighter and everything, a 7-figure contract deal for the Ultimate Fighter and everything, but yet Masvidal declined. Dana White had actually come forward and said that Jorge Masvidal declined the Colby fight because he felt like Colby was a bad matchup for him, when realistically, Colby, Gilbert Burns, and Kamaru Usman are all sort of the same character archetype. But I'm not going to get too much into that since this isn't that type of video. But yeah, so everyone thought it was a little bit weird, and it was really crazy when that was being brought to light because, Masvidal has a quote-unquote BMF belt and everything. His whole shtick was the whole, I'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime, and that whole deal. So to find out that he was ducking Colby so heavily and so obviously, in addition to the fact that he would just talk all this mess and then he got stopped by Usman in dominating fashion, was just insane. And in addition to that, we had the whole little Jake Paul thing going on with Ben Askren. So when Masvidal sort of gave Jake Paul, his co-sign, and he actually worked out with him, they made little YouTube videos and Instagram videos together. The whole community basically saw him as a sellout because they're like, well, you're only doing this for a check. So that really, really, really turned people the wrong way. And that made people, stick their nose up in the air at Masvidal. So him getting, knocked the fuck out by Usman, just for lack of a better term, really didn't help his case, and it really shot down his star power. And people were honestly saying that Usman should have, Dana White should have stripped him of the BMF belt after, and given it to Usman after Usman was beating him twice, especially knocked him the fuck out. But that's neither here nor there. Going down the list, we have Colby Covington. Dana White has said openly that Colby Covington will be getting the next title shot, and Colby's last loss was to Kamaru Usman. After that loss, he avenged his loss by stopping Tyron Woodley in 2, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing about Colby is that he has 0 wins against the current top 10 welterweights. Like, he has no wins against anybody in the top 10 right now. So you have a lot of other fighters, namely Wonder Boy, Vicente Luque, Leon Edwards, and everything, have really been raising their voices saying, well, how can he get it just because he, quote-unquote, did the best against Usman? Like, their argument is, how can Colby get a title shot based off his argument of saying, oh, I lost the best? You know what I'm saying? Even though arguably he was up on the cards going to the 5th round, but at the end of the day, he got stopped. So it doesn't matter what the judges say. It doesn't matter what the card score says, because if you get stopped, you lose the fight. You got your ass beat. You get what I'm saying? So there's that. And Colby has never really been a fan favorite. Like, yeah, he's one of the most famous guys on the roster, but in terms of likability, he's not really. He also has this whole shtick with the whole MAGA thing, Trumpy thing, Trump supporter, yada, 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 all that bullshit. But no one's really liked him for that. That was sort of just to get his clout up. We saw him FaceTime Donald Trump after he beat Tyron Woodley. We saw him get walked out by, I think, like Candace Owens or Kelly, whatever, some Republican lady or whatever. But no one really has ever cared about that. It's more so Colby's like little gig. But everyone's always respected him because they know he's a beast, and that's always been his main big thing. That, hey, I may come off as a dork or whatever, but I can fucking fight, and that's Colby's thing. But with the thing about Colby, I would say in order to fix his, problem, him versus Jorge Masvidal would have done wonders for him in terms of star power. Because if this fight would have happened in between Jorge Masvidal's 2 fights to Usman, this would have put their potential Masvidal Colby fight like 8 months in the past, which Masvidal's the height of his popularity would have still been there. This was before the Jake Paul stuff. This was before Usman had really started to rev up his social media presence, before he really started to get that fan base under him. Masvidal was really one of the biggest stars in the promotion, and it just goes to show how fast shit can flip on you, because Masvidal went up like a star and came down like a rocket. But yeah, back to Colby. I feel like he would have mauled Masvidal. He would have beat the shit out of Masvidal. And that really would have done wonders for him in terms of his star power and likability. But alas, the fight didn't happen. So Colby's sort of stuck in a gray area in terms of what the UFC should do with him. Because at the end of the day, he's a fighter's fighter, but he really doesn't have any of the other intangibles that they're looking for. Now, going down the list, we have Leon Edwards, even more so. He is an utter beast. We saw him in his last fight with Nate Diaz. He beat the shit out of Nate Diaz for 24 out of 25 minutes. But that one last minute made everybody overlook him because he almost got stopped. If Diaz didn't taunt him, if Diaz had one for the kill, people would think that Diaz would have finished him. And because everybody loves Diaz, no one really gives a fuck about Leon. No one really like that. It's weird because you think a Diaz and McGregor fight makes people instant stars, but it just goes to show how much of a lack of. It's almost like Leon is like a black hole of likability in terms of marketability and everything, right? Because if it's anybody else, a Diaz and a McGregor fight makes you an instant star, whereas for Leon Edwards, it's like it makes people like him even less because they say, "Oh, you almost got stopped." Da da da. The whole fight, 24 minutes, you see all these graphics people could have taken to use for article covers and everything. People have only chosen the Nate Diaz pose when he was about to stop Leon Edwards, which is crazy to me. But it just goes to show if nobody likes you, nobody likes you. It doesn't matter how good you are, especially with Kobe and Leon. Because Leon is on an immense win streak. I think Leon's on like a 9-fight or maybe 10-fight win streak now. Something crazy like that. Leon Edwards' last loss is to Kamaru Usman. And yeah, it just goes to show. I think that fight, that loss against Usman was back in like I think 2013 or something like that. Something crazy. It was a long, long, long time ago. But yeah, it was insane. And Masvidal had actually called out Leon Edwards because they were supposed to fight for the longest after the whole three-piece and soda thing. But apparently Leon's refusing to fight Masvidal now. After Leon's no contest against Beal Muhammad, obviously Leon only took the Nate Diaz fight because it's Nate Diaz. And now they're trying to they're trying to bait. I feel like what Dana White and the promotion's trying to do is they're probably thinking, hey, Leon's probably gonna get the title shot sooner rather than later, so let's try to give him some major fights to boost up his star power. Whereas Leon isn't going for that because he's not trying to risk, and rightfully so, respectfully so, he's not trying to risk becoming a stain on somebody's resume. He's not trying to risk his win streak because the thing about Leon Edwards is that he's not respected as he doesn't have the respect and likability of a super elite fighter in his wins. Like when he wins, it's not like a major thing. It's not like when Francis knocked out Stipe, so to speak, right? However, if someone were to beat him, it would be like, oh my God, you just beat a god. Like beating Leon Edwards would be akin to beating Usman almost, if you guys catch my drift. So he's in a very interesting situation. But if I was a man with his skills to pay the bills and everything like that, I would take that Masvidal fight. I would beat the shit out of Masvidal, and I would boost my star power. So that's just my take on Leon Edwards. That's a rundown of all the major players. We have Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson. They're about to fight in UFC 264 July 10th. But yeah, it's really interesting to see what the welterweight division is like. And in my opinion, how to fix it, what you do, is that you give Usman 6 to 8 months to chill because he's been super, super active. You give Usman 6 to 8 months to chill, and you market him super heavy. You get him in front of every camera you can. You get him on ESPN. You get him on Submission Radio. You get him on the fight with Teddy Atlas. You get him everywhere. Which would be kind of weird because they sort of endorse Masvidal, but you get Usman everywhere you can. You market him heavy because he's doing better. He's doing a lot better actually with his one-liners and his promos and just his media presence. So you keep that up. You keep the ball rolling with that. And what you do is that you sort of let the rest of the divisions sort itself out. I say you really try to force your hand into Leon versus Masvidal. If Kobe gets the next title shot, sure. Whatever, you can do whatever you want. And then I say if Stephen Thompson beats Gilbert Burns, you sort of either make him fight Kobe for the number one for the next title shot, or Stephen Thompson will be next up, depending on whenever the Leon Masvidal fight would take place. Or you could have Wonder Boy fight the winner of Leon Masvidal. And if you go with Burns wins because he just got stopped by Usman in a dominant fashion, I could see a Gilbert Burns Vicente Luque fight going down. There are a lot of ways that you could do this, and I think the UFC just basically needs to sit down and create like a gauntlet almost, where it's like, okay, Kobe is pairing him with Usman. Okay, cool. You got Leon Masvidal. Cool. You got Wonderboy and Burns. Basically, the winner of that fights either Vicente Luque or you give them the winner of Leon Masvidal, cool, whatever. And you sort of just have to do it like that. Because at this point, you can't really say that anyone really deserves to fight Usman because Usman's already beaten almost everybody but Wonderboy. So it's almost like a loser's circuit, like a loser's bracket. That's how I would set it up. That's my opinion on it. And let me know in the comments down below if you guys what you guys think, how you guys think the welterweight division should sort itself out. And once again, if you have not already done so, do not forget to like and comment on the video. Share it around with your friends. I want to hear everyone's perspective on it because I'm open to new things. Once again, like, share, and comment, and subscribe to the channel. Now, catch y'all when I catch y'all. Have a good one. I'm out.